and general mobility, or help in so-called instrumental activities of daily life, for example, help in shopping, housework, etc. And in addition, general supervision. This is the help quite often needed by people suffering from some form of dementia. The most popular form of dementia you probably know is the Alzheimer's disease. And already now, in Baden-Württemberg, this is the state where we teach, around 2.6% of the population is in need of long-term care. And around 60% of them suffer from some form of dementia. And this will probably, we're not sure what will happen in the future, but according to our projections, this will increase dramatically in the next 20-30 years. So what are the other countries doing in terms of long-term care? And I start with a more basic, general, theoretical background. In the past, it was always possible to order a scheme of social protection within models. And the most popular model in Germany was the welfare state model. On the one hand, the Beveridge model, and on the other hand, the Bismarck model. Today I put the focus only on the Bismarck model, and if you want, you can read this after the lesson. And in the Bismarck model, or social protection schemes which fit into the Bismarck model, usually are well known to have a social insurance company and are self-administered. For example, the German health insurance organizations. And the health insurance usually covers for specific groups. In Germany, according to the employer and employee, and there are other groups like most of us, civil servants, which are covered by another form of health insurance. And within the Bismarck model, the providers, they're usually formed by a mix of private, non-profit and public service institutions. For example, if you go to a hospital, you may go to a private hospital, you may go to a public hospital run by a city or by a local area, or you may go to a so-called non-profit hospital, maybe run by the Red Cross or the Caritas, etc. And for example, within the Beveridge model, the hospitals are usually run by the public sector. And another very clear point of this Bismarck model is that the funding is usually done out of contributions which are paid out from employers and their employees. And the countries within the European Union which could be well fit into this Bismarck model are Belgium, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, France and Austria, whereas all the other countries, they more fit into this so-called Beveridge model. And now I would like to look finally how, for example, countries within this Bismarck model which have recently reformed their long-term care schemes, if they still belong to the Bismarck model in terms of long-term care, or for example if they have searched for new ways in dealing with this challenge, this increasing challenge. And I look at Austria. Just give you an example of Austria. In Austria, the long-term care provision is regulated by the so-called Federal Act on Long-Term Care Benefits. And surprisingly, it's not like healthcare or pension schemes or like the long-term care insurance in Germany, funded out of contributions. It's funded out of general taxation. The responsibility in Austria is not by the health insurance or long-term care insurance company. The responsibility is by the pension insurance. And in Austria, very interesting, because we are discussing this also in Germany, this model for reform our long-term care insurance. All people in need get a so-called cash allowance. They get just money, and then they can choose the form of help needed on their own. It doesn't matter if a disabled elderly is cared for in a residential area, is cared for by a care service, is cared for by a relative, just get the same money. It's a fixed money, and this is also in public discussion, for example, in Germany. There are 7 degrees of disability, and the average amount of care allowance per month is quite low compared with Germany. around 457 euros. Do I have 2 more minutes or?
I
Sorry.
think you have 1 more minute.
Timekeeper, 1 more minute. The very interesting thing is here, in what is the result of this fixed budget? What is the result? So I'll answer this on my own, if I only have 1 more minute. The result is that most people in need are cared for by anyone. People who are cared for at home, 95% are cared for by relatives or the black market. It's organized somehow. In Germany, the people living at home, disabled elderly people, around 50–55% are cared for in some form by providers which we say it's professional providers. In Germany, around 35% of all disabled elderly people are living in residential areas. In Austria, only 20%. So this has a clear effect on the form, on the infrastructure. And in the end, we can say, and we will find many more of these examples in Europe, that countries leave their welfare state structure. In the end, there is really a high degree of knowledge and learning potential by looking beyond the national barriers. We can very clearly see what will happen if we have this or this regulation, and what will work, and on the other hand, what will not work. And the traditional systems are becoming less fixed in Europe, and we have a change. We can see a very clear change in the welfare state organization in almost all countries, and maybe we will have this situation in the future, that long-term care provision, healthcare provision, or other forms of social security are no longer run by the public sector on their own. It's no longer only the responsibility of the family or the market. We get more and more a mix of all these different ways how we can arrange social protection schemes. Thank you.